We're gonna cut this down in a second. As soon as I make a connection. I'm looking to make a quick connection this morning. So as soon as I make that connection, because what's on my mind is kind of what was on my mind yesterday. So, you know, the Ypsi Ale House. All right, that's one. The Ypsi Ale House has been on my mind all night. And I think what I got to do at this point is I've got to start bringing a little bit more validity. I put up the post that the people that saw this and brought it to my attention, I put up the post so everybody knows who Claire is, everybody knows who Dave Roberts is, everybody knows who Ypsi Ale House is now. But what I want to do is I just want to do a quick conversation with the individual who actually saw the post, brought it to my attention, and I'm going to leave this person nameless because they don't need to have their name aired, but they're the actual person who not only spoke with the manager of Ypsi Ale House verifying Claire's employment, they also spoke with Dave Roberts on the phone, and I actually happened to be on that phone call too. So let me go ahead and cut this music down because I don't even need to cut the music down. Let me go ahead and cut it off and make sure I got my connection. Sir, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So yesterday there was a post that was left on the Ypsilanti area discussion page. It was that page, right? I know that Ypsi has a lot of pages, right?
Yeah, it was the Ypsilanti area discussion page on Facebook.
Okay. So when you saw the post, because Claire didn't make the post, Claire commented on the post. The person who made the post, I believe his name was Whitney. And Whitney just left the post. She was inquiring as to what was going on, on South Huron Street, I believe it was, because there were a lot of cars that were flying by, a lot of police cars that were flying by. So she left that post. As we see a lot of times through YAD, people are always inquiring about where the police are going or what the police situation is, this, that, and the other. So I believe Whitney's post was innocent in trying to find out what was going on in her area, her part of the village of Washtenaw County in Ypsilanti, and Claire came across with this commentary. That's a problem.
Right.
So
Right.
When you saw that post, did you actually engage with Claire, or did you just see it, screenshot it, make sure you'd have the documentation? What was your first move on that?
Yeah, well, everything you just said, I just want to back up to what you just said and say that's all. That's my take on it as well. I thought the initial comment was, seemingly innocent. I will add that just for folks who might be unfamiliar, that the Ypsilanti Police Department is very, very close to South Huron.
Okay.
So to hear sirens on that street really shouldn't come as too much a surprise to anyone, considering, its proximity to not only the Ypsilanti Police Department, but also sheriff stations on South Huron as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we can only speculate as to what those police were doing and where they were going and what issue they were responding to. But it was an innocently, phrased post, and what caught my eye was, like many folks do, I just like to be aware of what's going on in my community. And when I was reading the comments, just seeing what other people were saying to see if anyone had any more detail or information, that's when I came across, Claire's comment.
Okay.
And my very first thought was actually not to really engage with her, because what we need to understand in the community is we have to understand when we've been disrespected, number one.
Right.
And number two, anything that they say after that is only going to be a deflection or spin. And I didn't want to engage in that because that would be pointless and a waste of my time.
Right.
So I wanted to at least capture evidence of the conversation, should this become pertinent later.
Okay.
So since it was a public comment left on a public forum, I felt I was well within my rights. And just to understand better, because sometimes you do just want to give the benefit of the doubt to someone.
Right.
So I clicked on her profile to see if Claire had any other posts of, like nature. that was, were seemingly racist or what have you. And much to my surprise, I then learned by going to her profile that she was is the manager at the Ypsilanti Ale House.
Okay.
So those are some disturbing revelations that came out from this whole thing.
Okay.
So at that point, I decided to, get more information about her, collect that information, and then go from there. So maybe I should say that for now and give that to you.
So this wasn't anything else that Claire said. You just went to her personal profile, and because I saw the picture and I shared the picture of her holding up a Black Lives Matter sign. And
that's right.
What we know now about the Black Lives Matter movement is it was a sham organization to gain revenue, pulling at the heartstrings of black, white, and whatever color people around the world, for 3, 4, 5 individuals turned into obviously a big conglomerate where they've amassed untold millions of dollars at the bloodshed and the brutality of Black Americans. So when we see a Black Lives Matter sign, as Black Americans now, we look at it and laugh because we know, for one, Black Lives mattered way before Black Lives Matter came along.
Right.
So when people hold those signs, we know people to be holding those signs. Sometimes, I mean, let's be honest. Let's kick the ballistics here. Sometimes people got Black Lives Matter signs in their yard, on their cars, holding them up, just so they don't get beat up. It don't mean they're not a racist. They don't want to get chin checked on what they believe in. And we know people that are flaming racist. I personally know Linda French put up Black Lives Matter signs in her restaurant and told her servers to seat Black people near the window so people could see that she was friendly to Black folk.
Wow.
In which we know she is not, in which she's in the midst of an ongoing class action suit for wage fraud, for I know it's not a crime to be a bigot, to be a racist, but all that stuff ties into, because the people that are actually suing her, many of them happen to be minorities, not Black people. There are some, but minorities. We're talking about Asians, Hispanics, and whatever, and she has shown great detriment to those ethnicities, and it's unfortunate that I haven't seen those factions of people stand up. Right now, right here, I'm standing up for Black folks because I am a Black man. I am a freedman. I belong in this territory where I don't feel that Ypsilanti Ale House does, and I don't believe that Claire does. And as far as Dave Roberts does, I hope his muscles got done from last night, but I don't believe he deserves to own a restaurant or be serving the public of Ypsilanti or Washtenaw County anymore, because he showed no regard. And let's jump right to that, because you called Ypsi Ale House first looking for Dave. Is that correct? You called him there?
Well, that's slightly correct.
Okay.
So let me just add some context. So
please do. I could be off in these comments, so please straighten me out. I'm.
No. I mean, you got the gist of it, but
okay.
I just want to, put it all in place. So once I learned that Claire worked at the Ale House,
okay,
what I wanted to do was call the Ale House and verify that she worked there, because we never want to assume,
right?
And just because it's on Facebook doesn't always mean it's current or that it's accurate,
right?
So we have a lot of folks on Facebook that deflect for no reason, and so I wanted to verify. So that was my mission of my call to Ale House, was to verify her employment and go from there.
Got it.
Once I spoke with the person who answers their phone calls, who, for the sake of this conversation, is really, I don't want to say he's irrelevant, but he was just the person that answered the phone.
Okay.
I was able to verify that she was, in fact, the manager, and, in fact, she was working at that moment. She was the manager on duty at that moment.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to speak with Claire. I wanted to speak with someone that could have some authority over her. So
okay.
I have to speak with the owner. And
can I stop you there? Because this is a teaching moment for anyone that is going to go forth, who's going to call people out. Never go to that source, because that's only going to become combative. Always go to who's in power. Always
Right.
go to the authority. Never try to have a one-on-one with the person that is in question, because Claire would have just become, she would have become immediately combative. She would have either hung up on you or held a conversation with you, but you get nothing done dealing with Claire. We already see where Claire sits. So we need to speak with who seated Claire in the seat she's in now, and that's why you chose to speak to the authority. I'm sorry, proceed.
No, that's right. And furthermore, Claire only would have solved me. At this point, her validity was corrupt to me. So I had no faith that anything I said to her would be followed up upon, other than for the purpose of her mitigating personal embarrassment or disaster for her own career. So I had no interest in speaking with her.
Okay.
So I asked to speak with the owner. There were two owners, or there are two owners. One of them is a gentleman named Ted, I believe.
Okay.
And he was on site. So I asked to speak with Ted. The person who was on the phone, who answered the phone, who I believe was a bartender, he told me that Ted was doing inventory. I asked to speak with Ted regardless. He went to Ted, he put me on hold for a brief moment, came back to the phone a few minutes later and said, "No, Ted's not going to be able to speak with you. He's doing inventory." So that told me right there that was a red flag. I have a call of note and importance, and the owner wouldn't even come take this phone call. So the guy on the phone ended up giving me the personal phone number of the other owner. So that's how I got Dave's phone number.
Okay.
So that's what led me to Dave, just through that little transaction right there. So nevertheless, I called Dave, and I called him a couple of times, and at first the phone was just getting hung up on. Like my phone would ring, and then it would just hang up. Called him a couple of different times, and he ended up calling me back later. But I should pause there in case you want to ask me any other questions about that.
Well, the thing was, because I did somewhat divulge to say that I was a part of that conversation, because you and I had talked and
Right.
we had spoken about this. And then the second or third conversation that we had, I believe Dave called you back during that conversation, and you said, "Oh no, this is the number that I have for this other guy." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, go ahead and call him." He says, "Well, do you want to be a part of this conversation?" And I said, "Well, you know what? I'll mute myself out, because I did not want to be a part of it. I didn't want to instigate. Like I said, I would possibly become combative. Once I heard some of the things that Dave was saying to you about cooking and having things to do, and he really wasn't putting this, to the forefront of his mind. He was just really caught up in his muscles. I was glad I was on mute. But yes, please go into that conversation, because I did state that I was a part of it, but I wasn't a part of it. I was only on mute as a third party on the call. So please talk about you calling Dave back after he had finally returned your call, please.
Well, yeah. So like you said, I called you. I have a lot of trust in you. I know that you're someone that's looking out for this community. So I wanted to at least put this on your radar so you were aware. And I just plan to continue following, the story as it was unfolding. So during our conversation, Dave did call me back. So I clicked over and then combined the phone calls into a conference call. You stayed muted while Dave and I proceeded to have an initial conversation. During that call, which was very brief, Dave made it clear from the get-go that he was in the midst of cooking mussels. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He was cooking mussels, and he didn't have a lot of time to talk because he wanted to get to his mussels.
Right.
He reiterated that several times throughout the call.
He did.
That's true. I explained to him why I was calling and what this was about. He told me in a real brief manner that he would look into it, quote unquote. But at no point did he seem really bothered by anything that I was saying to him or concerned. I would think as the owner of a business, in a community that serves a large amount of Black folks, you would be a little bit razzled by the fact that you have a manager who's making racist comments online. I mean, not only is that, just bad for that person's character, but that's a reflection on your business.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I expected, or I hoped that he would have a little bit more urgency and concern, but he demonstrated none at all.
And I just want to just interject there. I'm sorry, before you get to your next statement. Please hold it. Please hold it.
Yeah.
Dave said that what you two were talking about at the time was not going to be solved in the next 30 minutes. However, his muscles were going to be completed in the next 30 minutes, and he would call you back. Has he called you back yet? Have those muscles gotten done to where Dave has been able to get settled and figure this out and call you back? Or maybe he could have had time to reach out to his manager who was already on duty, who was already in pocket, who was already in his kitchen. Because, hey, if he's cooking mussels, that means he's probably no more than 30 to 40 feet away from Claire. Maybe he could have brought Claire into the kitchen and helped him finish the mussels, had a discussion, and called you back and found a better way to handle this. Or maybe have Claire make a public apology, or Ypsilanti Ale House make a public apology, or maybe they make a joint apology. I just want to find out, has Dave completed his mussel cooking yet and called you back?
As far as I can tell, that's no. I have not heard from Dave now. Those mussels may have sent him into an itis, for all I know.
Yeah.
He could still be in a food comatose itis.
He could.
And he just hasn't found the energy to get back with me. But no, I've not heard any additional follow-up from Dave or anyone else from his staff.
Dave could be going through muscle spasms. But
totally
right now, we going through racism spasms. You know what I'm saying? My thing is, go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the whole real reason. I know, you having a fun comment here, but we as a community, we have to. It's on us at this point. We have seen leadership act or not act in these issues, so it's coming down to us on the street level. Yes. We have to prepare to take action and get folks out of our community that do not represent us in any way, shape, or form, and in fact are working against us.
Yes.
So that's what this whole thing is really all about. All humor aside, we cannot have someone in this community that's, and Ale House, by the way. So I'm not mistaken. Black Lives Matter. They had a Black Lives Matter and was serving up.
Right.
So this is an organization that is definitely taking in the black dollar. But then that black dollar is apparently lining the pockets of folks that have anti-black racist views.
Right.
So this is a 100% concern for this community, and we can't, not to mention the fact that this is a person, this player is in a leadership role. So no telling how that's affecting all of the personnel and business decisions of the Ale House. That anti-black racism is coming into the workplace, and that might be affecting folks from growing in that organization, from being promoted, from getting certain, getting desirable work shifts. There's probably a myriad of things that's underneath the surface here. So it's not just she was online whistling Dixie talking some nonsense. It's not even about that.
Right.
It's about that mindset going into a place of business and then having direct effect over not only the patrons, who at that point I would not recommend anyone of color or anyone from our community, the black community, patronize this business, but not only that, but how that's affecting staff as well.
Right.
So that's a huge problem.
And I just want to conclude with this, because I would love to be able to have you back on. I'm going to have dialogue about this throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, however long it takes for, first, the public apology to come from Ypsi Ale House, the public apology to come from Claire. I need first that to happen. Then I need black people to understand we have no allies out here. We have no friends out here. People that are with us don't have to speak their allegiance. People who are with us don't have to speak Black Lives Matter. I don't need you to tell me Black Lives Matter, because I know, motherfucker, Black Lives Matters much. And I know that without Black lives in Ypsilanti, Ypsilanti wouldn't be shit. Now, I want to go to the people real quick before we close out. We've had a ton of people respond to your post, my post, the post on the different pages. And one of the things that I keep saying is, Claire is clearly not a racist. Claire is clearly not a racist. Her statement was poorly viewed. Her statement was poorly hashed out. All I'm saying is this. The original post put up by Whitney Wooden. What's going on? 12 police cars just passed me on South Huron flying. That's all Whitney said. Claire's comment was probably black people being black people, shaking my head. Now, my problem with what everybody is saying and giving Claire the clearance here to say that her statement was a non-bigoted, non-racist, non-adverse statement is Whitney never said that the 12 police cars were chasing black people. Whitney never said that the 12 police cars were going towards the South Side, which really isn't densely populated with black people anymore. There's just as many Arabs and Asians and white people living over on the South Side as black people now. So they could have been going to look at a crazed white person, an Asian person, an Arab person. They could have been going anywhere. And who knows, they weren't even going. She says they were past me south on Huron Street. So that means they were going the opposite direction. So they were going towards where more white people live than black people. But seeing that Whitney never said that black people were in question, why did Claire put black people in question?
Right.
Because Claire's statement has nothing to do with Whitney's comment.
We have no idea if the police are even responding to a situation of criminality. This could have been an emergency, like a health situation.
Period.
Someone could have had a heart attack.
Period.
Someone could have been hit by a car.
Period.
There's a million other possibilities. So for Claire to correlate criminality to black folks is the same type of mindset that would put a Kyle Rittenhouse in an acquittal situation.
Right.
And justify him.
Right. And I keep seeing Claire is anti-police. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not. We need law enforcement. Okay, not race soldiers with guns and badges, but we do need law enforcement. I am against defunding the police. No, give them more training. I didn't say give them more money, give them more training. And with more training, you need more money. So give them more training, give them more tutelage. Also put them through psych evals every 30 days. I need to know the mental capacity of somebody that carries around a gun, a nightstick, a taser, a stun gun, a pair of handcuffs. They got rifles and shit in the cars. I need to know the mental capacity of somebody, not every 3 years, not every 5 years, not if they get into an accident and you got to have them go pee. I need to know the mental capacity of a police officer every 30 days. Absolutely do not defund the police. Fund the police, but put the money in the right motherfucking hands. Don't just put it on their overtime like Jerry Clayton does the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. Put it into the proper authorities' hands, so that the police can come out as police. Hell, you got to go to barber school for a year. You only got to go to the goddamn police academy for 90 days. So to be licensed to carry a pair of clippers, a set of clippers, I got to go for a year. But then I can carry a Glock in 3 months. I'm sorry. We can't defund the police.
I stepped on you there, but I just wanted to say it's always been easier to destroy than it is to create.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with situations like this, I guess my my biggest problem is that there was no immediate comeback. Claire could have came right back on the YAD page and say, you know what? My comments were taken out of context. I did not mean what the way it was stated. But how can you? How can you come back and full-throated say, my comments were taken out of context when your comments were the only context about color? Whitney's comment was not, her question was not about black people being chased by the police. You made it about black people being chased by the police. And you made black people being black people the source of your comment. You could have said, oh, just probably the police chasing around Ypsi citizens again, uselessly, aimlessly, needlessly. But no, you said just probably black people being black people, shaking my head. That's what you said, Claire. And you brought that to Dave Roberts' attention, and Dave had nothing to say to you except, I need to keep stirring these muscles. Are we done here?
Very disappointing.
I mean, as a citizen of Washtenaw County, as a resident of Ypsilanti, I have a problem with that. I'm born and raised in Ann Arbor, but I'm a citizen of this village. And the fact that I've got an Ypsilanti address, I absolutely am 100% behind anybody supporting the closing of Ypsi Ale House. And obviously the termination of Claire first. Get rid of Claire first. That could be your first step towards doing something right. The next step is to put a for sale sign in your window because you have no regard for the black people in the city of Ypsi.
Well, if I can interject on that, I would like to see a couple ways to move this thing forward. I think absolutely unequivocally Claire needs to not only offer up an apology, a sincere apology, but then she needs to be removed from that position. I would also recommend that a person from the FBA community be placed into her spot. So I'd like to see a Black person then take her spot once she's been terminated. And then also, I would like to see the city of Ypsi bring the same type of smoke and scrutiny that they did to Deja Vu, which is effectively shut down Deja Vu. And I would like to see that same level of scrutiny be applied to the Ypsilanti Ale House.
Frances McMullen has to answer to this. She's been at the forefront of the roadblocks that have kept Deja Vu from reopening, a downtown staple business for the last 30 years. Now, we get situations that happen at Deja Vu that they don't like, but Deja Vu has been there longer than any other business in that block, if I'm not mistaken. And most of the business on the other side have not been there as long as Deja Vu.
Right.
She has roadblocked that business from reopening. But you have a business that stands here and says detrimental things about Black people. And we're talking what, 100 feet? Maybe 100 feet away?
Maybe not even.
Not even 100 feet away. So if you got the same heat, got the heat for Deja Vu, you should have the same heat for Ypsi Ale House and any other business that's going to come up. Because we definitely need to bring these things out. We're not marching, we're not chanting, we're not dancing because somebody got brutalized, because somebody got murdered. We're going to start at ground zero. We're going to shut your businesses down. You cannot trade in Washtenaw County with that type of spirit. That's what we need to do.
Might I add that, we have groups out here like the Sheriff's Office and other organizations that partner with the Ale House to provide Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners to, affected communities within the area. So the Ypsi Ale House is doing big business with huge institutions within Washtenaw County. So
yes.
This is not some hole in the wall fly by night restaurant that nobody know about. This is a place that has a lot of traction and a lot of influence.
Right. And with that influence, if that influence is being led by a race soldier who makes detrimental statements about Black folks in this community, that's a problem. And anybody that calls themselves an activist or they're civic minded, you might even say Black Lives Matter. I'll give you a pass if you a Black Lives Matter. Okay, then you need to step the fuck up. But I don't want to hear about Black Lives Matter. I don't want to hear about your civic mindedness. I don't want to hear about your activism if you're going to let this shit ride. Because we're not just running at bloodshed no more. We're not just marching on Saturday when all the goddamn county offices are closed. This is time we shut businesses down. Tell your white friends, tell your brown friends, and obviously tell your Black friends. Ypsi Ale House is not a place for us to be able to eat or drink at anymore. Brother, I appreciate you. Hopefully I can call on you. I might even call you a little later today. Like I said, this is at the forefront of my mind because I already know on a grand scheme, we talked about the whole national political process and where we need to really dig our heels in anyway is local. Maybe this could be the Kickstarter as the weather starts to break, as we start to come up out the pandemic and masks are being lowered. Maybe our consciousness can be heightened as our masks are lowered. Because now we about to really see who's up under these masks and who been talking shit for the last couple years. Because all the Black Lives Matter signs don't mean shit. All that marching has stopped, all that chanting has stopped, and Black Lives Matter has folded up their tent and got $100 million in the wind, and they done moved on. They don't give a shit about y'all. They don't give a shit about y'all. We back to normal. We back to business. And we need to start with Ypsi politics, city council, Lois Richardson, the mayor, Frances McMullen, the city manager. We need to talk to the people and the powers that be about Ypsi Ale House. It's not just about us. These people allow them to do business at or downtown Ypsi. So if they're not going to say anything about it, then the people of Ypsi need to bring it to them. So I'm looking for Francis, I'm looking for Lois, I'm looking for city council to speak on this today. I'm going to be all over all the Ypsi pages today. And anybody that sees this, please share anything that you got with me. Inbox me. Put it on my post. Some of y'all got my phone number. If you need my phone number, I give you my phone number. Call me. This shit's gonna stop one way or the other. Brother, I appreciate you.
I salute you, sir.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
One love.
Yep.
Claire. Dave. Get y'all apologies ready. We looking to have those in by 1 on YAD Uncensored, YAD with much discernment, the real Ypsilanti discussion page. We looking to have apologies across Facebook from Ypsi Ale House right in the middle of y'all lunch. Hey, if them muscles ain't done, them muscles ain't gonna never get done, Dave. You better start penning an apology. Fuck them muscles. One love. And as I said to all the motherfucking activists out here, if y'all don't get in, don't come talk to me about nothing else, motherfuckers. Uh-oh, what happened there?
Buttermilk biscuits. I enjoy it.
That's for y'all clowns that ain't gonna do shit. One love.